So when a person say, I know God, no, you know an aspect of God that he's revealed. We can never know him in his fullness because we don't understand it to that degree. We only know what's revealed. And what's revealed, that's what we're responsible for. Okay? Amen. Go to humble and unattractive. Someone read that one. Out of dry ground. Uh-huh. Now, if we imagine that imagery, what does a tender plant look like? It looks like something that needs help. Okay. A plant growing out of dry ground, what does that look like? Rough. Yeah, it needs water. So can you imagine if got my head cut off up there? Okay. All right, no problem. I looked up and said, something's missing. Okay. But if we saw a plant in that condition, we would have a certain mindset about that plant. This thing needs help. If we saw Jesus in this state, young, tender, could be young in age, rough, his environment that he growing up in, you know, we would, this little boy need help. It's nothing that would have been about him that would spark anything. So in other words, we'll say this, that he looks just like any other person in any other place. Nothing really stood out that would make him special unless it was revealed to the person who's looking at them, or him, right? So he comes in unattractive, basically not unnoticed, but much attention wasn't paid to him, okay? Kind of like our Christian walk. When we are in the world, too many people don't really pay attention to what we do. But actually, when we come into the church, people pay attention, right? And sometimes they pay attention to who you used to be, to see if there's any change in your life, right? That can produce a form of suffering for the believer, to come out of the world into the church only to be judged harshly sometimes. Okay, and I'm raising those points just so we don't keep the suffering servant in a historical context, but also to see how we line up with that as well. Okay, page 36, 2B. Someone else read that one. Okay, so now he has no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Now, all of these pictures and paintings of that fake Jesus that we have, right? They paint him in a way that makes us think that he's the most handsome man on the face of the planet, which violates Scripture. When King Saul was chosen for king, he was chosen for his external appearance. Jesus, the king, did not come with an external appearance that would make us say there's something special about him. That only came about once you got to know him, because the Pharisees saw him every day and didn't really know who he was. As a matter of fact, they did not like him, but his disciples loved him. So it comes from a relationship thing. I can only imagine when he walked by Peter and said, "Follow me." James and John, "Follow me." And they just walked. Was it because they saw something in him, or did something testify of the words that he spoke to them? I often wonder, because if somebody passed by me and said, "Hey man, follow me." Yeah, exactly. Especially for me to leave my job to go see what's going on. Okay? So it had to be something that involved a deep revelation and not just appearance. That's how I would see that. Going over to 3, and when we get to 4 and 5, we're gonna talk about some things specifically. But 3, page 36. Think about that for a moment. So he was despised, rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. So these characteristics. How many of us have been despised? Despised is a harsh word. I mean, I've only had probably 1 or 2 people to say to me, "Man, I can't stand you." But we normally don't meet people who express that kind of despising of us, right? Most of us are just not liked by other people. Mother Shaw, help me out. When we deal with that word despise, it's going deeper than just dislike, right? Okay. So when I ask how many of us have been despised, and then the conjunction "and" rejected, that's just kicked out. Somebody don't want to be bothered with you. Okay? Divorce court, yeah, buddy. You know. On both sides, huh? But being despised and rejected of men, that would produce sorrow. Alone, it would produce sorrow. And it would acquaint us with grief.